You are the same as the feminists. This is the accusation against MGTOW that we're going to be discussing today. And first of all, we're going to be talking about the specific accusations that are made about why we are the same as the feminists, the similarities that are supposedly there. And then, we're going to go some details about why that's not the case. Now, unlike other accusations such as shut the fuck up and go your own way already, which are generally made by women or feminists or manginas, this accusation, you're the same as the feminists, is generally made by other members of the manosphere, perhaps men's rights activists, or more recently, the anti-feminist crowd, like, the whole Armored Skeptic versus Mayor of MGTOW saga. So what are some of the quarrels or the charges? We got whinging, whining, complaining. Feminists always whinging about how much problems they got, and you MGTOW just whinging about women. Feminists complain and blame men, and you MGTOWs, you just blame the woman. We've also got the misogyny. Okay, well, you hate women. It's a lot of things you say is very hateful to women. Feminists also quite misandric. They things like all men are rapists, and even look up some of these quotes. The more hardcore feminists are saying, like, we should reduce the male population to 10 or 20%, and things like that. You're just an unattractive loser, just like these feminists tend to be, landwells and so on. And a very, very big one is that, feminists say things like we should only use men as utilities, or should use them for their wallet, which is why we have things like those alimony and divorce, family court laws. And on the other hand, the MGTOWs are saying we don't really want to interact with women, but if we do, we should just use them on a very superficial level, just having sex, or maybe a short-term relationship. And they say, in that way, you're just like the feminists. Let's start with the claim of misogyny. Feminists can be very misandric. For example, you could see Sharon Osbourne, who mocks men when they have their penis chopped off and it's placed in the incinerator. She thinks that's marvelous. Or we can see Chanty Binks, who's a very, very angry and hateful person. You can see it in her eyes. That is real misandry. Unjustified hate, really. That's only when it matters, when it's unjustified and it's based on falsehood. Interestingly enough, as disgusting as this misandry is, it's often overlooked and not seen as a big deal in society. On the other hand, we have men who are critical of women, and they say things that are negative about them. Often they're true. And this is labelled misogyny, as hate of women, even when they might not be doing this because of feelings of hate. They might be devoid of those feelings. Still, they'll be charged as a misogynist because they're criticizing women. And even when men could be hating women, could be angry at them, if it's based on something true. So on the count of misogyny, I would say that MGTOW are not like the feminists, because oftentimes the allegation of misogyny is a false accusation, because the criticism of women is being conflated with misogyny. And in the second instance, when men really are being misogynist, they're not like feminists, because they are right in feeling their hateful emotions, because they're based on truth. For example, in the case of a man who's been through a recent divorce. On the charge or the accusation of whining and whinging, women have been talking about their problems with each other for so damn long. But it's really socially unacceptable for men to talk about their problems or talk about their feelings. And here we have men going the way, we're fucking doing it, man. We're doing it. We're talking about it. And people don't like it. People want us to shut the fuck up and go our own way. The fact is, whinging is a trait that is heavily discouraged in men, because generally we are encouraged to act in a stoic way, and many times it's demanded of us. It's a highly praised virtue for a man to have. And the funny thing is, the feminists, they really are whinging. They're saying, oh, patriarchy, rape culture, but, I mean, women have so many fucking privileges, honestly. Women have an in-group bias towards other women. Men have an out-group bias towards other women. You see it all the time. With the white knights, for example, that defend a woman, but they won't defend a man. And how's that for equality, right? So really, MGTOW, we aren't whinging, right? We're sitting down, we're on the forums, we're making videos, we're thinking about human nature, male nature, female nature. We're people like Stardust, Barbarossa, Coltane, Two Playing Monkey. We're coming up with some really good stuff, and far from whinging. And yet, because we're men, amazing conversation and discussions and theories, it's just whinging. Because, hey, you're a man, you're not allowed to complain about these things. You are the same as these fucking really properly whinging, angry chanty binks feminists over there. You're the same as them. How about this one? You're an unattractive loser. That's why you're MGTOW. Just like these feminists, Only reason they're feminists is because, they're fugly, they're land whales. Well, first of all, there's all sorts of women that are feminists, and if you include feminist sympathizers as being feminists, then there's very, very attractive women who are feminists too. Just like with MGTOW, there's men from all ends of the spectrum, although it's worth pointing out that because 80% of the male population is viewed as unattractive by a woman, and only 20% of the female population is viewed as unattractive by men, there probably are going to be more quote-unquote unattractive MGTOW. Nevertheless, even if an unattractive MGTOW was pursuing it, just like an ugly woman might pursue hardcore feminism, I think he would be entitled to, and justified in doing so, because the juice is not worth the squeeze, as they say. The MGTOW's just like the feminists, because they're both extreme. This is a fucking stupid argument. You call anything extreme, one person can be smarter than a million, I mean, a lot of things that we're doing these days are fucking extreme. Like, anyone from 100 years or prior would look at us and our cell phones that were being glued to the bloody screen, even while we're supposedly having a one-on-one interaction with someone. That's fucking extreme. Okay, but charging someone with being extreme isn't really a very good argument. Okay, for example, people say, oh, you're a vegan, that's a bit extreme, isn't it? Most people aren't like that, so that must be extreme. Well, I happen to think that slaughtering fucking billions of animals unnecessarily every year to give us diseases that we don't want, to destroy a planet that we want to live in, I think that's fucking dumb. I think that's extreme. Lastly, this is perhaps the main charge, the main accusation, particularly comes from MRAs. You MGTOWs are exactly like the feminists. A lot of feminists say a man is no good, but he does have a pretty good wallet sometimes. So if a man has a fat wallet, use him for his money, If you get knocked up, he should pay child support to you. He's a good wallet, If you get married, he should provide for you. If you get divorced, he should continue paying you with alimony and divorce settlements, and he should even pay for your fucking legal fees. Squeeze that wallet dry without any obligation to be with the man. And MGTOW say, we're not a fan of commitment, but if you really want to, you can have sex with a woman, maybe a short-term relationship, but only use them for sex. So the feminists say use them for the money, MGTOW say use the one for the sex. Now these two things might be somewhat analogous because, basically a relationship, you're trading sex and reproduction for resources and utility. I see the main difference here is that with feminism, they've been able to establish a somewhat gynocentric system where men, their money is squeezed out of their wallet by force. and coercion, and this is seen in the family court system through divorce, alimony, child support inside and outside of wedlock, and also through taxation, where men need to pay for the services of women. For example, the DPB in New Zealand is a form of welfare for single mothers. If you can't stood the man up for child support, he left the country or you just can't trace him, guess who pays for that baby and that mother? The taxpayer, most of whom are the men. But unlike a lot of feminists would have you believe, we're not living in a rap culture, and there's no system in place which forces or coerces a woman into having sex with men. And this is the way in which these two things are dissimilar, and this is the reason why MGTOW is not like the feminists. And this would be a good time to point out that MGTOW is not a social movement, it's not a political movement seeking to institute systems and place them onto others. It's simply a bunch of guys going their own way and having to deal with stupid accusations like these.